Listening Library presents Magisterium Book 5, The Golden Tower, by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. Read for you by Paul Bamer. For Cammy and Elliot, who are both good at being bad. Chapter 1. For the first time in Cole's life, the house he had grown up in looked small. Alistair brought the car to a stop and they piled out along with Havoc, who ran along the edge of the grass, barking. Alistair glanced at Cole once before locking the car. There was no suitcase to carry out, no duffel bags or luggage to worry about. Cole had come home from Master Joseph's with nothing. "Not exactly nothing," said Aaron's voice in his head. "You've got me." Cole tried not to smile. It would be weird if his dad saw him grinning at nothing, especially since lately there hadn't been much to smile about. Master Joseph and his forces had been defeated by the Magisterium, but there had been a high death toll. Cole's best friend, Aaron, had been raised from the dead, only to die again. As far as anyone knew. "Are you all right?" Alistair squinted at Cole. "You look dyspeptic." Cole abandoned the attempt not to smile. "Just glad to be home." Alistair hugged him awkwardly. "I don't blame you." The house looked smaller inside, too. Cole went into his bedroom, Havoc panting at his heels. It was still weird to see Havoc with regular green wolf eyes instead of the coruscating eyes of the chaos-ridden. Cole reached down to scratch Havoc's ears, and the wolf yawned, his tail thumping on the ground. Cole wandered around the room, picking things up almost aimlessly and putting them down. His old iron-year uniform. Smooth, pebbled rocks from the caverns of the Magisterium. The picture of him and Aaron and Tamara, grinning ear to ear. Tamara. His stomach clenched. He hadn't spoken to Tamara since she had been kneeling over his body on the battlefield outside Master Joseph's stronghold. In that moment, it had seemed possible that she cared about him the way he wanted her to, but the silence that followed let him know where he stood. After all, it was one thing to not want someone to die. It was another thing entirely to want to talk to them once they were alive. Tamara hadn't wanted Cole to raise Aaron from the dead in the first place, and once he had, she hadn't thought that Aaron was himself. To be fair, Aaron hadn't been acting like himself. It turned out that bringing a soul back into a slightly rotted body did weird things to it. Ironically, Aaron was much more himself now while rattling around in Cole's head, but Tamara didn't know Aaron was still around. And Cole was sure, based on her previous reactions, that she would be highly suspicious if she found out. She already thought Cole was an evil sorcerer, or at least evilly inclined, which Cole didn't really want to think about because of all the people in the world, Tamara had always believed in him the most. "We're still going to have to tell her, you know." Cole startled. Despite Aaron being there with him in the Magisterium infirmary all through his healing, from the after effects of using too much chaos magic at the battle with Alex, another person hearing and responding to your thoughts never stopped being unsettling. There was a knock on the door, and then Alistair opened it. "You feel up to some dinner? I could make some grilled pimento cheese sandwiches, or we could get a pizza." "Sandwiches would be great," Cole said. Alistair made them carefully, buttering up the pans